So today we are going to be working on this beautiful washcloth pattern. It uses almost completely the bean stitch with the crab stitch or reverse single crochet around the edges to finish it off. What you will need for your pattern today is 57 yards of size 4 yarn. I would suggest 100% cotton yarn if you are going to be using this as a washcloth. For these samples here, I originally used Lion Brand Pima cotton in peppercorn and rose taupe. Today I'm going to be using I Love This Cotton in Moonlit Frost. You will need an 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, some scissors, and a yarn needle. To get started, we're going to create our slip knot, put our yarn on our hook, and chain 2. Now in the second chain from the hook, the first chain that you did, we're going to place a bean stitch. And to do the bean stitch, you don't yarn over, just insert your hook into that first chain, yarn over and pull through. Now you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that same chain again, yarn over and pull through. And we're going to do that one more time. Yarn over, insert your hook into that same chain, yarn over and pull through. You should have 6 loops on your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 6 loops. And to finish off the bean stitch, we yarn over and pull through one more time. Now we're going to do 3 more bean stitches in here, and in between each bean stitch we're going to have 2 chains. So we're going to chain 2. And we're going to do another bean stitch in that same chain. So insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through all 6 loops, and chain 1. We're going to chain 2, do another bean stitch, chain 2, last bean stitch, and last chain 2. Now we're going to join the end of this round to the eye of that very first bean stitch. So the eye is what we create when we do that final chain 1 at the end of the bean stitch. It kind of makes a little loop right here at the top of our bean stitch. So we're going to put our hook through there, yarn over and pull through. And that is your first round. You should have 4 bean stitches, which with 2 chains in between each one. So now we're going to turn. We're going to pull up on our loop there a little bit so it's not too tight as we do our next step. And in this chain space, we're going to place a bean stitch, 2 chains, and another bean stitch. So starting with the bean stitch, then we're going to chain 2 and put another bean stitch in that same chain space. Now we're going to chain 1 and hop on over to that next chain space and do the same thing. I'm going to do 2 bean stitches with chain 2 in between. 1, 2, another bean stitch, and before we hop over to the next chain space, we're going to do a chain 1, then repeat in the next chain space, bean stitch, chain 2, bean stitch, we're going to chain 1, and in our final chain space, bean stitch, chain 2, bean stitch, and we're going to do one final chain 1, and we're going to join to the eye of that first bean stitch, and you can see we've kind of started to create a square. So in each spot that you put 2 chains in between your bean stitches, those are our corners, and in between where we only did 1 chain in between, those are our sides. So to go into round 3, we'll loosen up a little, turn around. We're going to put 1 bean stitch. This is not a corner, this is a side, so we're just going to put 1 bean stitch in this chain space. And we're going to chain 1. Now this chain space here is a chain 2, so this is a corner. So here we're going to place a bean stitch, a chain 2, and a bean stitch. So first bean stitch, chain 2, and another bean stitch in that same chain space. Now we're going to chain 1, and our next chain space is a side, it's a chain 1, so we're going to put 1 bean stitch here, and we're going to chain 1. Our next chain space is a chain 2, it's a corner, so we're going to place a bean stitch, chain 2, and a bean stitch. Now we're going to chain 1, and in our next chain 1 space, we're going to put 1 bean stitch, chain 1, and in our corner here, our chain 2 space, we're going to put bean stitch, chain 2, bean stitch. Chain 1, 1 bean stitch in the side, chain 1. We're in our last corner, our last chain 2 space, 1 bean stitch, chain 2, bean stitch in the same chain space, a final chain 1, and join with a slip stitch into the eye of that first bean stitch. All right, so you can see how our pattern is continuing. Along each edge, you have a bean stitch, a chain 1 in between each bean stitch, but when you get to a corner, you're going to do a bean stitch, chain 2, bean stitch in the chain space. Then as you go around to the edges, after your corner, there would be a chain 1, bean stitch, chain 1, bean stitch. As soon as you get to a corner, you're repeating that bean stitch, chain 2, bean stitch in the corner, and continuing this around until you get to a total of 8 rounds. You're just going to continue the same thing. So I'll show you this last round, and then you can just continue until you get to a total of 8 rounds. So here is round 4. We're going to turn, loosen up. This is a chain 1 space, so we're just putting 1 bean stitch, a chain 1. That brings us to our corner. So we do bean stitch, chain 2, bean stitch in the same chain space, chain 1 to hop to the next chain space. Just going to put 1 bean stitch, chain 1 to get to our next chain space, and 1 bean stitch, chain 1. This brings us to a corner, so we're going to put bean stitch, chain 2, bean stitch, we're going down the side, so we chain 1 to get to the next chain space, 1 bean stitch, chain 1, 1 bean stitch, chain 1, we're at a corner, so bean stitch, chain 2, 1 more bean stitch, chain 1, 1 bean stitch, chain 1, bean stitch, chain 1, we are at a corner, so bean stitch, chain 2, bean stitch, chain 1, and we are at our last chain space, so 1 bean stitch, chain 1, and we're going to join with a slip stitch into that first bean stitch. So at this point, after round 4, we have our corners and then 2 bean stitches in between each corner around. And we're going to loosen up and turn and just continue. Like I said, with this pattern, 2 bean stitches with 2 chains in between for each corner, and in between you do chain 1 bean stitch, chain 1 bean stitch, and then you're going to continue this pattern for each round until you get to a total of 8 rounds and meet me back here. Okay, now that you have finished round 8, you should have a total of 32 bean stitches around, 8 on each side. And now we're going to start on our edging. So we're going to chain 1 and single crochet all the way around. So we're going to put 1 single crochet in that stitch we just chained out of, at the eye of that bean stitch. And then we're going to put 1 single crochet in our chain space, 1 in the eye of the next bean stitch, in the next chain space, in the next bean stitch, the next chain space, the next bean stitch, and when you're at the corner, you're going to place 4 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, And we're going to continue this all the way around. You're going to place 1 single crochet in the eye of each bean stitch and in each chain space, and 4 single crochet in the corner until we get all the way around back to the beginning. All right, so after you come around and you put your last single crochet in your last chain space, we're going to slip stitch to the first single crochet of the round to finish off that round, and then we're going to chain 1, and now we're going to crab stitch or reverse single crochet back around. So we're going to skip that join, and in the next stitch we're going to put our hook, yarn over and pull through, kind of pull up your hook so it's up above the row, yarn over and pull through. So it's going to feel a little funny till we kind of get into a groove. So we're going to go to the next one, insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through both loops. Next stitch, insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through both loops. Insert your hook into the next one, yarn over and pull through, kind of bring up your hook so you're above the row, yarn over and pull through both. And we're just going to keep doing this all the way around. Even at the corners, we're not going to do any extra stitches. We're just going to keep putting 1 reverse single crochet into each single crochet around. So just continue this all the way around and meet me back here. All right, so when you get to the end of your round and you've put a reverse single crochet all the way up to where you started, we're going to slip stitch below that first reverse single crochet, yarn over and pull all the way through to finish that off. Pull through, and then we're going to weave in our ends. All right, and there we have your bean stitch washcloth. If you really enjoy this particular stitch in the round like this, I have a few other patterns on my blog for something similar using the stitch in the round. I have the Spill the Beans pillow cover and Spill the Beans blanket pattern, so be sure to check those out. And also subscribe to my channel for more crochet. Thanks so much.